check my settings. Okay, good. Okay, good. I hope we're not gonna fuck around this time. Alright, games. Oh, I hope everybody is ready for this craziness. To make sure this is... I don't know. Anyway. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another stream of Seduce Me to the Demon War. I am Gina, aka the Gina Chu. It is Saturday night. We're gonna romance some people. We're gonna load up our game. Shelties is in the house. Ladybug Queen messaged me earlier. She should be stopping by, I'm sure. Okay. So, we ended right after the worst tarot card reading in the history of, well, no, not right after the tarot card. We talked to James, our fiance, about the terrible dream we had about him, but now it looks like it is our wedding day, and I'm sure that the wedding day is just gonna go so smoothly. Nothing bad's gonna happen at all, and everything's gonna be fine. If you can see my face right now. This is gonna be a disaster, I can't wait. Alrighty. Hold on. Oh my goodness, I'm the worst. Okay, let's jump back into it, you guys. Soon enough, the wedding day had come. I had received many pre-wedding gifts from guests that couldn't come, but I knew many people would still be at the wedding, since James was the Anderson Toy Company CEO. Yeah, there's a lot of, like, business people that they're gonna have to invite. I even got fun texts from Naomi, Susan, and Carrie's. They tried to tease me with pictures of James in his wedding tux, but I deleted them all without peeking. I didn't want to see him yet. He didn't get to see my wedding dress, so I wanted to wait to see him in his tux. I guess it kind of makes sense. Alas, I had decided to dress alone at the mansion. The girls had offered to help, but I needed the time to myself. I had to reflect on the day ahead. I have a feeling you're going to regret being alone. Why aren't Carrie and Naomi and Suzu with you? Like, you're supposed to get dressed for your wedding day with your girls. Froggy's here. Oh, no. The family troll has arrived. And Ladybug Queen's here. Amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible. I can't stop yawning. Okay. I was about to be married. It was insane. I couldn't stop staring at myself in the mirror, dressed in the wedding dress of my dreams. Can we see the dress? No. Is this really happening? I knew the air wouldn't answer me, but I felt myself need to speak my thoughts aloud. I could hardly believe that I was about to walk out of the house and be someone's wife. James's wife. The thought of us together made me smile and close my eyes.
Talking to you.
Oh, here we go! Oh gosh, who would have known that something bad would have happened? A voice I didn't know sent shivers up and down my spine. I suddenly looked around, hearing the voice echo in the room.
I
was trying to see if I could figure out exactly what he's saying. What? What was going on? Why was I hearing voices? This couldn't be happening. No, Ladybug Queen, we are romancing James. We're going to romance in the same order we romanced in the first game, so Eric will be second. I held my head, trying to stop the sounds in case I was dreaming or imagining them. Stop! 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 I screamed at the voices not... Shit. I screamed at the voices not knowing what they were saying, but wanting them to go away. What I didn't realize was that my screams let out some sort of spell that seemed to freeze the air around me. Everything was still and silent. I could feel, however, that the room around me was frozen in time.
I knew it. I knew it. That girl has demon magic.
Ooh. What the?
Then quit talking and let's take her.
This is very similar to the promo for this game that we played, except we were at our grandfather's grave. And that might happen maybe in another storyline. I don't know.
The Demon Lord will be so pleased.
Oh, yeah, the Demon Lord will be so pleased. I'm sure. You're ruining his son's wedding day. Who? Before I could turn to search for the voices, I felt a hands grab a hold of my feet, and I looked down and lifted my dress. 2 pairs of evil-looking hands had taken a hold of my ankles, reaching through a dark red and purple pentagram. I shrieked, trying to pull my legs away, but couldn't stop them as they swiftly pulled me into the ground. I was pulled deeper into the darkness. I was no longer in my room. I was being dragged through a dark void, one that I couldn't escape. I reached out and clawed at the dark, trying to find something to grab onto. I tried to pull my legs away from the hands that were holding them, but couldn't pull free. What was going on? Why was this happening? Someone help me! As if someone had heard my screams, I suddenly felt the hands let go and disappear, leaving me to float in the darkness they left me in. I shut my eyes. Please let this be a dream. Please let this be a dream. I finally felt a surface under my feet, and I collapsed onto it, my body curling in on itself from the experience I had. I didn't dare tear my eyes away from my lap, not ready to get up just yet. This is pretty much word for word what was in the promo. The voice I heard, however, made my heart stop.
You! What are you doing here?
Diana! I looked up, finally having the courage to take in my surroundings. My heart stopped beating for a moment, seizing my chest. Oh my god! Oh my god! Diana is having some sort of party, and we definitely just fucking crashed it. What the fuck? Shelties, we are doing James's route. We are romancing them in the same order we did in the first game. Oh my god! Also, who is this long black-haired bae over here? I don't know who he is. Can we romance him, please? Cause, like, please? Really? Please? I see character designs and I'm just like, this one looks pretty. What's wrong with me? I looked up to see 5 figures, strangers, monsters, beings that I didn't recognize. They looked down at me in surprise as if I dropped in at a very bad time. One man looked like an orc from a fantasy game without the tusks. He had broken horns and a very frightening aura around him as he stared at me. That would be this guy that Diana looks like she's hitting on. The other male was lanky in comparison, more human-like, but I could almost feel power emanating from him regardless. That's black-haired bae over here. One of the women who was staring at me had rabbit ears. This is chick on the right. Rabbit ears. They twitched on top of her head as she looked at me and gripped her staff. She seemed harmless, yet she had animal ears. The one creature that I couldn't discern the sex of seemed to be more excited to see me than surprised. What freaked me out about them was that they had wings sticking out from their back and they were floating. The last woman, however, set off alarm bells in my head as I looked at her surprised face, her hair, her eyes. Diana? Yeah, it's Diana. As she stared, the woman turned her body towards me in recognition to the name I called her. It was her.
What are you doing here?
Diana walked towards me and stared down at me. It was odd. She didn't look like a human, yet I wasn't afraid of her demon form as it towered over me. I was more in shock as to what was going on. Oh, here's black-haired bae. Before Diana could speak further, most likely to repeat herself, a figure quickly stepped up and bowed to her, kneeling beside me.
My lady, please forgive me. I felt something moving between our worlds and assumed the Demon Lord was to blame, so I intercepted his summoning of this human.
You! So I wasn't the only one who felt the change in the air.
Diana stared at the man kneeling beside me as I kept my eyes up at her. As she turned her gaze back to me, I gulped silently. What was she going to do with me? This all felt wrong. I was about to be married. I was about to live happily ever after with the man I loved. Now I was in a place I didn't know with Diana and a bunch of other creatures I didn't recognize. Yeah, well, I don't think they want you here either, so my instinct was to attack, cry, stay still, or scream. Oh, yay! Oh my goodness. Shelties, you did not have Diana. We went through this. We all shared Diana. Well, I suppose we could go through these different ones, like, you know, as we are wont to do in other playthroughs. But, yes, she did, Frankie. We all had her. We romanced her as a group. Attack, cry, stay still, or scream. I would say we would probably stay still. I think the Anderson that romances James, because I do think of them as kind of different characters, because I went different ways personality-wise. Red Celesta's here! Hi, Celesta! Welcome to the chat! So nice for you to come back and join us. I'm gonna stay still. I couldn't move. My mind was empty of emotions except for fear. Why was this happening? Where was I? Why was Diana here? Diana stared down at me before sighing and kneeling down to my level. As she settled onto her knees, I leaned away from her, unsure of what she'd do. Was she going to kiss me again and take my energy? Knowing her, maybe.
Can you tell me what happened?
I guess she could tell that we didn't come here on purpose. I didn't want to speak. I felt no courage to. My mind was so wrapped around this chaos that I felt nothing but fear and anxiousness. This couldn't have been happening. I was dreaming.
Is she okay?
I don't think so.
This is a waste of our time. Just kill her or something.
Yes, because that's a smart thing to do. Kill someone who is clearly traumatized and has done nothing to deserve death. Brilliant idea. Bravo.
Nice to see that not every demon is crazy bloodthirsty. Thank you. It's more of devil territory in this game, I suppose. Froggy! The Sims is not a thing anymore. That program cannot run. Diana continued to stare at me, waiting for me to answer. Why? She didn't cast a spell on me, nor did she attack me. She continued to wait and stare. Slowly, my mind began to sink into the situation. Diana was willing to listen. Was she willing to help? That was another question, but first, I had to answer her. My voice still didn't want to answer still, so I forced myself to nod, wanting to answer her somehow. Diana smiled softly, which conflicted with my memories of her. She never smiled like that, yet she was now. Well, who knows what changed in the past couple of years since we've seen her. Diana held out her hand, ushering me to take it.
Can you stand?
I nodded again and took her hand, standing up at last. I looked around at the other beings in the room. They all kept their gaze to me, unsure of what I would do or say. Diana, however, led the conversation.
First, can you tell me what happened to you?
I took a breath, recounting everything that happened. I was about to go to the church to be married, and then I was attacked by this darkness. A couple of hands grabbed my legs and pulled me into it, and then I fell here.
A shadow summoning.
Oh, look at this Bay! Who is he? And can I have him? This is all I want to know. Diana turned to one of the beings, the lanky male, and glared.
One of yours couldn't have.
On my honor, it wasn't any of mine. We have nothing to gain from kidnapping a human. Nor do we know who this woman is, anyhow.
Oh, maybe he's from another kingdom that she's trying to make a pact with to try and fight off the demon lord. That's my initial assumption, anyway.
My lady, if I may, I clearly remember hearing imp demons in the void along with her. It must have been the demon lord's henchmen.
Maybe the demon lord is kind of pissed at what his sons are doing. Shelties is telling me he is not romanceable. I don't care. I know. He's gonna be the Mai of this game. The why is there not a fucking romance? No, I refuse to take no for an answer, Shelties. Look, it's a lanky male in his natural habitat, says Celesta. I love you guys so much.
Those damnable creatures. That explains it.
Diana crossed her arms and looked at me again.
Well, dear, it seems that you were to be either a new harem girl for the demon lord to ravish, or bait for the boys to return to their father's side. Either way, I doubt you would have lived long had the demon lord gotten his hands on you.
Yeah, probably not. A violent shiver ran up my spine. Was it true? I would have died?
Wait a minute. This girl knows about the Demon Lord's heirs?
Yeah, I was about to marry one of them, bitch!
Yes. Hilariously enough, she was set to marry one of them, as you can see from her garb.
As Diana motioned towards my dress, I realized how vulnerable I was and felt extremely self-conscious. I wrapped my arms around myself as Diana let out a sigh.
Well, since you do not belong here, the obvious thing to do is to send you home.
Yes, please, that would be great. I couldn't help but stare wide-eyed at Diana. She was really going to send me home? Really? I couldn't believe my ears. You will really send me back?
Of course. It should be easy to do once everything is in order. It'll be like you never left the human world.
Wait, like I never left the human world? What do you mean by left the human world? Yeah, you're in the abyssal planes, honey. Diana stared before chuckling softly and gesturing to the room and beings within it.
Dear, do you not realize where you are?
Yeah,
You are in the demon world.
obviously. My mind went blank. It couldn't be. I couldn't be in the demon world. No way. No way in hell. Well, actually, now that you mention hell, I felt myself back up against the wall behind me, suddenly afraid. I was in another world? How? That was impossible. And then you want the fairy Shelties? Oh my gosh. Yeah, Celesta, I don't know what is up. Frankie and Shelties are fighting like cats and dogs today, and it's not cool because we're a family and we love each other, damn it, whether we like it or not.
Do not panic. We will send you back now, so there's nothing to worry about.
How will you power the spell? Bringing someone here is no easy task, but sending someone back consumes much more energy.
I'll use what energy I have now and rest. We can organize the siege another time when I fully recover. It's not like the Demon Lord can escape the corner we've trapped him in, so we do have some time to spare.
Ooh, she's got him on his haunches here, ready to attack, huh? Diana, bae, what have you been doing?
You'd waste time and energy on this human. We must strike now while the Demon Lord is weakened.
But the human doesn't belong here. She needs to go home.
Yes, I agree.
Shall I prepare the return spell?
Do. I grant you permission to use my energy to power the spell.
With a nod, the lanky man held out his hand towards the wall. I looked over in the direction it was aimed at. Diana's shadow? I watched as Diana's shadow simply stood against the wall, mirroring the movements of the real succubus in the room. Before my eyes, the shadow began to morph and expand on the wall on its own. I looked back to see Diana wrapping her arms around herself and curling her shoulders over as if she was in pain. Her nails embedded themselves into her forearms and I could barely make out a painful hiss escaping her clenched teeth. Was the spell hurting her that badly? I turned back to the wall to see Diana's shadow shaking and vibrating as if it was resisting the change the man was forcing on it.
You will obey my command. Open the gates to the void, and allow passage to the world we seek.
Transitum per renan pectum trenibris. Ubi aperiunt. Ianoio. Deception.
Upon Diana's final word, her shadow burst and expanded into an oval-shaped doorway. I stared wide-eyed at the passage before a hand placed itself on my shoulder, forcing me to look over. The one with the spear gently pressed my shoulders forward and looked down at me with an almost stern face.
You must leave now. The faster you leave, the quicker we can close the void.
Go! Go! Go get married!
I guess they just want the heirs out of the way. I guess if you think about it, Anderson marrying James would work in nothing but their favor, really. Because the more tied they are to the human world, the less chance they have of coming and fighting Diana. So I guess her going to get married would be a thing they would want to happen. I quickly nodded and lifted the bottom of my dress, stepping forward to make a run for the passageway. However, before I could bolt towards my freedom, a snarl echoed through the room.
How dare you interfere with my summoning!
Oh, the Demon Lord was after us! Oh my god. Jesus Christ! Oh god! At that very moment, Diana began to scream, arching her spine and throwing her head back. Around her body were red-tinted bolts of lightning flashing and shocking her form.
No! Human! Use the passage! Now!
He didn't have to tell me twice. I bolted towards the portal, driving forward as I neared it, but I was forced back by a burst of energy and a flash of red light. I fell to the floor, almost slamming my head onto the stone.
Human will never, ever leave this world alive!
Oh, we pissed them off!
You spineless worm!
Close the portal! The Demon Lord might get through!
But the human...
Close it!
Ooh, that sucks. Oh, yay! Our wedding day's turning out to be so great, you guys. You guys better love each other. You better hug. This is a family, damn it! As commanded, the man pulled his hand back, visually forcing his arm back behind his body. Diana's shadow quickly began to morph back into a simple shadow. The electricity around Diana faded away and she began to tip forward. The man with the spear dropped his weapon and caught Diana in his arms, cradling her to his body. She panted and gasped for air.
I don't sense the Demon Lord anywhere.
The worm has to scurry through the shadows to try and fight back. He'll be dead soon enough.
How is she, guard?
Diana seemed to look uninjured, but her body was twitching from the aftermath of the magical attack. Her visible eye was shut tight as she dug her fingers into the guard's jacket to cling to him. I ship it. As her eye opened, I saw not a blood ruby red color, but I saw a cold and unfriendly golden color painted over her iris. Her mouth opened as she panted for air, and I could see hunger in her facial expression, but she continued to stare at the wall, not wanting to make eye contact with anyone.
There are no physical wounds, but she's been weakened. I must give her my energy so she can recover.
The man swiftly moved and hooked an arm under Diana's knees, lifting her up bridal style as she clung to his jacket, shivering. The spear that had fallen to the floor faded into black and purple mist as he quickly left the room with her in his arms. They're gonna go fuck! I mean, probably. How else is she gonna get his energy? Frags, why would you hate your life? You've got a family here that loves you. Don't even start. No sad faces, no sadness allowed. Happiness is mandatory. My mind, however, began to panic. Oh god. I can't stop yawning though. I couldn't go home? Why was I being forced to stay? Damn the Demon Lord, this wasn't right.
There's an imp in the castle. That is the only way the Demon Lord could have been able to interfere.
You! Guards by the door! Hunt it down!
A pair of guards were apparently by the door saluted the one commanding them and ran off. I felt out of place, alone, terrified as to what was going to happen. The Demon Lord wanted me here and his words pounded at my mind. How was I going to get home? Would I ever be able to go home? Well, if he wants to get his sons back to the demon world, this is the way to do it, because I cannot imagine James doing anything but rushing headfirst into the situation to get Anderson back, so that should be interesting. I love how you're fighting over Diana, and I didn't even say who I was naming Anderson for Diana's playthrough. You guys, I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna name the person who romances Diana Red Celesta because she's being the adult right now. How do you both feel about that, huh? Mama Chu-Chu has spoken, stop fighting. I love you guys.
Hey.
I looked up to the person hovering near me before they moved and sat on their knees on the stone ground beside me.
We'll get you home, okay? Diana just needs a little rest, okay?
Yeah, we don't even know her real name yet. I think it was mentioned, well, I don't know.
She needs more than rest. She needs to use a different spell to send her back. The Demon Lord will expect her to use the shadow spell again.
How about the normal way? I'm sure we can connect to a witch, or even the warlock she used before, to reopen a portal to the human world.
The warlock she used to get to the human world died, remember?
Yeah, our
and
grandfather.
he was the most powerful warlock in the human world. Practically a god himself.
What?
What other human could be used to open a portal without another human dying?
Well, I mean, Sam's wife is a witch. That's the only person we really know. But are you saying our grandfather was practically a god? He was the most powerful warlock in the human world? Dude, he was like an elderly man who was casually into this shit. Like, what are you even talking about?
It was merely a suggestion. The faster we get this human home, the faster we can move on and finish off the Demon Lord.
Well, what are we going to do with the human now?
We can give her a room to rest in. Humans need sleep after all. Maybe by the time she wakes up, we'll think of a solution.
Come.
The woman with rabbit ears looked down at me and lowered her hand to me, inviting me to take it. She had a kind but concerned expression on her face, so I trusted her. I slowly took her hand and began to stand up as the fairy figure brushed off the small patches of dust that had accumulated on my dress. I couldn't do anything. I was forced to listen to the beings around me because there was nothing else I could do. Without them, I couldn't get home. My heart ached, but I had to accept my predicament.
Here, I'll bring you to the open ambassador's room. You are free to rest there for now.
Okay, or what about Diana? You know what? Considering that we're a nice person, I'm gonna say what about Diana? The floating person giggled softly as the woman with rabbit ears cleared her throat.
She'll be fine. She's being taken care of right now.
Yeah, they're fucking.
Why not just say she's getting fucked?
Yay! I like this guy now!
And the brute strikes again with the lack of tasteful filtering between his brain and his mouth. You still have yet to prove me wrong about my expectations of you.
Keep testing me, assassin. I'm not afraid to rip your spine out of your body and use it as a back scratcher.
He's an assassin? Bay is an assassin? Okay, I'm immediately angry that we cannot romance Bay. I'm very upset. No amount of fucking parsnips or whatever fucking shit I was using on Sebastian, I'm not on Sebastian, on Elliot. It's just, this is new Bay, and why can't, no. Guys, no. I'm very upset.
You can very well try, brute.
Why can't I romance you?
Ugh! Would you both knock it off?
Yeah, by the way, great offense against the Demon Lord when you're fighting amongst yourselves. That shit's gotta stop.
Everything will be taken care of.
Before I could protest, the woman led me out of the room and into the hall. I kept my eyes down, trying to take in more of the situation I was in. I was trapped in the demon world and Diana was out of commission. The Demon Lord had plans for me, but what exactly was he aiming for? It could have been bait. I could have been revenge. I didn't know, nor could I figure it out now. At least I was safe. At least I hoped I was safe. The woman led me to a room that practically screamed medieval fantasy. Everything was clean, but it still had that old age feel as if no one had ever stepped foot in the room until that moment.
Rest here for now. When Diana is well again, we can discuss what to do.
This place looks amazing, by the way, and I want to know these guys' names too. Celeste, that was my thought, right? Like, Bay is an assassin? Are you fucking kidding me? What? Well, thank you. I nodded to the woman before she gently curtsied and left, closing the door behind her. I took a moment to observe my surroundings, interested in understanding the aesthetic. This was fantasy turned into reality. It was like I'd gone back in time. Why, though? Why was the demon world really... was the demon world really that behind in the times, or did magic supersede technology, and this was the result? Celesta! Despite the situation I was in, which was beyond heartbreaking and terrible, my curiosity began to fester in my mind as if I was given a golden opportunity to learn something new. However, my thoughts began to drift, and I felt myself becoming weak and dizzy, no doubt from the shock and trauma I had gone through. I stumbled towards the bed, needing to sit down and let everything settle in without passing out. As my rear hit the mattress, however, I let out a small, pleasured sigh. Holy crap, this is a comfy mattress. I felt myself fall back and my entire body simply melted into the softness beneath my body. It was like I was sleeping on a cloud. Was that possible? Demon magic must have had something to do with it, but I was certain that I was drifting into an almost blissful sleep just by laying on the blankets and mattress. Not caring that I was still in my dress, I closed my eyes and drifted to sleep. I needed the rest since Diana wouldn't be available for a while anyway. Yo, this is insane. I mean, there's just 1,001 questions. Like, when are the guys gonna? Well, obviously they'll notice when she doesn't show up. Like, they're gonna know she's missing. How are they gonna find out where she went? If they find that she's with Diana, they're probably going to immediately assume that Diana was the one that grabbed her for some nefarious purpose. Like, and I assume that the Demon Lord has something planned for if the guys go back into the demon world to try and get Anderson, then he probably has some way to try and keep them there. So I'm just not okay with this. We could share that hot assassin, Celesta. It's all good. Shelties, be quiet with you and your subplot. Jeez, Mrs. Know-It-All. Mrs. Gina's on a specific schedule, so I'm going to play the game before her and mock her the entire time. Thanks, Shelties. I love you. Darkness surrounded my mind, my dreams remaining silent and hushed in the cool and calm black. No nightmares appeared and no sounds were made. I was simply resting, and that was all that my body needed. I let my thoughts wander in my subconscious, thinking about what was going to happen now. What will the boys do when they realize I'm gone? Yeah, that's my question. What will he do? Yeah, James is going to lose his mind. Just wait, you guys. Just wait until we do Sam's route. If Sam was the one we were getting married to and this happened, he would go fucking ballistic. I imagine him finding a way through the demon world and pulling me back to where I belonged, wrapping me in his arms and swearing never to let me go. I would be relieved and we would be married just as we planned. How unrealistic was that? I had to be realistic right now. I was stuck and the only one who seemed to be able to send me back was Diana and her companions, whoever they were. Yeah, I would like to know more about these guys, especially Dead Assassin. Yes, I believe they should team up and wreck the Demon Lord Celesta. I agree. I had to trust them, whether I liked it or not. Eventually, I did rise from my sleep, somehow fully refreshed and calm. How could that have been? Obviously, it's magic, I would assume at this point.
Did you have a good rest?
I turned my head to see Diana at the door, arms crossed and leaning against the door's archway. She had a look of concern and pure curiosity on her face as she awaited my answer. Are you okay? Diana stared at me, slightly shocked. Did she not expect me to ask?
Huh. Well, yes, I'm fine now that I've had proper rest.
That's good. Diana shook her head and stepped into the room, closing the door behind her.
So we need to find another way to get you back to the human world. It won't be easy, but I believe it can be done by tonight at the latest.
Tonight? Really? Diana nodded and crossed her arms again, leaning on one hip.
It will take time to get our shadow agents to gather the necessary supplies, but they are not hard to obtain, being that we're in a position of power. You must be lucky.
What do you mean? Diana appeared before casting a short spell under her breath. In front of me appeared a floating map, almost like a hologram. It showed me the entire world with mountains, plains, forests, and it was all surrounded by sea and water. Diana pointed at a marker that had a purple banner at its tip. It was marked in the center of some mountain and forest area. It was also at the very center of the map.
That is where we are currently, the center of the abyssal plains.
Oh, so her kingdom is in the very center, huh? Celesta, it is 7:30 in the afternoon here in New York, okay? Also, I was out late last night because it was board game night. Diana then ran her finger in a circle around the marker, showing a perimeter around it.
Everything we need for the spell is within this area. It will just take time to gather the materials and prepare it.
I nodded, understanding the situation. I was going to hopefully be able to go home tonight, which was better than not going home at all. Well, what should I do until then?
My suggestion? Stay in this room. I can mark this room as off-limits so that no demon may enter that would confuse you for an intruder and kill you.
I gulped. I did not want to die. As Diana made the magical map disappear, she shrugged.
However, I cannot stop you from whatever you wish to do. Just don't leave the castle.
I nodded as she turned to leave. As she stepped out, Diana looked back at me with a reassuring look.
We'll get you back to the human world. I promise you that.
I am dying to know what made Diana change in these past 2 years. Maybe seeing us, I don't know. My first thought goes to the conversation that we had in her room with her about being able to choose who you love. Obviously, in the other routes where we didn't romance her, we didn't have that conversation with her. But I assume that perhaps seeing Anderson and whatever of the boys of her choice decide to fight for the fact that they loved each other willingly maybe had a similar effect on her. I don't know. Maybe she feels more sure of herself, or maybe she's just calmer and happier now because she seems to have the upper hand against the Demon Lord. Because she was kind of in like panic mode in the first game because she was trying to save her people, really. So I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited. Finally, she left me alone in the room. I let out a small sigh and looked up at the ceiling. I had to wait until tonight to actually do anything. What was I going to do? Part of me agreed with Diana's suggestion, wanting to stay in the room and be safe in case the guards didn't know who I was and would kill me on sight. My curiosity, however, wouldn't leave me alone and wanted me to explore the castle. I was handed an opportunity to explore a castle in the demon world, and part of me did not want it to go to waste. Yeah, as we learned in Diana's route in the first game, Anderson has this penchant for, like, wanting to know about demonic things. I was torn on what to do. We're gonna stay in the room. In other playthroughs, we'll definitely go explore, but in this one, we're gonna stay. It was better to be safe than sorry. I fell back onto the bed and closed my eyes, contemplating taking a nap to make the time go by faster. Staying in my room was the best option for me, both so that I wouldn't get lost and that I'd be okay in case the guards were on duty. I let out a small sigh before looking around the room. Was there anything I wanted to look at closer?
Excuse me.
Oh. Before I could find anything, I looked towards the door towards the voice. Peeking in was the rabbit woman, cautiously remaining behind the door while looking at me.
Are you feeling okay?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I am. Thank you. Please, come in. Don't call me Shirley! I trusted this woman, despite barely knowing her. She assisted me in coming to this room, and she was one of Diana's comrades, so I felt that I could put my trust in her. How far we've come that we're like, oh, she's a friend of Diana's. I trust her. The woman nodded before stepping into the room and closing the door behind her. She turned to me and stood by the door.
I'm assuming Diana told you about the situation.
Yes, I'll be back home tonight. That's the hope anyway.
Yes. We sent our agents as soon as we knew what we had to gather. We're positive they will turn up before nightfall, and we'll be able to cast a gateway spell.
Yeah, we'll see how that works. I nodded and let out a small sigh. It would be a long wait, but it would be worth it if it worked. The woman, however, took a step forward.
May I ask you something?
Oh, maybe she's curious about us or about the human world. I don't know. I looked to the woman, slightly confused. Sure, go ahead. What is it?
Well,
I watched as the woman reached up and rubbed one of her ears, almost in nervousness. What was she nervous about? Finally, she spoke again, releasing her ear.
would you mind if I asked you about the human world?
I knew it! She's curious about the human world! The human world? Why would she be curious about the human world? She was a demon that looked like an anthropomorphic rabbit. The woman hugged her large staff against her body as she shrugged.
How are things like in the human world? Is there equality amongst your races?
No.
I've only heard stories. But since you're a human yourself, you would know.
Yeah, no. Not among humans anyway. There's not equality. Well, we're not getting into that subject though. That's kind of heavy-handed. My mind ran back to the social life of the human world. At least in America, we claimed to be equal, but we had major prejudice amongst our races whether we liked it or not. Thank you, Michaela! I found myself to be on neutral ground, not wishing to be extreme on either opinion, but knowing the difference between what was morally right and wrong. very interesting, neutral way to cover that subject. I like it. I looked to the woman and shook my head, making her eyes widen slightly. We are not exactly equal. I mean, we try, but we're pretty divided. However, it's only one of many problems we face. The woman nodded before walking over and sitting down on the bed beside me.
I see. Are there major wars fought because of it?
In a way, we have marches and movements, but we at least try to not escalate it to war where I live. It's better to resolve things without violence.
That's smart. I hope that equality can be found in your world.
What about here? The woman shook her head, her smile turning a bit grim. I could tell that things were rough here just from looking at her expression.
We have sort of a caste system here. What kind of demon you are determines what life you live. Demons of Lilith like Diana are usually royals and nobles, while animal demons like me are much, much lower in the ranks.
That sucks. I could hear her anger and shame just from her voice alone. Were things really that bad here? That's horrible. I'm so sorry.
It's alright. That's why I joined the rebellion. We intend to make changes, make it better. I want to be part of that and help fix things.
There was a confidence in her words that didn't match the look in her eyes. She knew something was off in what she said, but she expressed it in any way as her reply to me. I didn't know whether or not to prod or keep silent.
It's alright. That's why I joined the
I wouldn't be here long, so I decided to keep my mouth shut. The woman shook her head out as if she was scattering her thoughts from her mind and looked at me.
So, you are getting married. You must be excited to get back with your family and soon-to-be partner.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, I'm excited to go back. For a brief moment, I'd nearly forgotten that I was getting married. My mind began to wander to the one who was waiting for me, making my heart ache. As I looked down at my lap, the rabbit woman looked down as well.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you upset. But you will be home soon.
I nodded. I shouldn't have let it get me down, but I really did miss being in the human world. I think anyone in my situation would understand, especially since I was a bride. I looked at my hand, seeing my engagement ring and imagining the wedding ring that was made for me, replacing it. Soon enough, it would be on my finger, and I would be able to continue living my life as normal. Pulling myself out of my thoughts, I looked at the woman as she stood and bowed to me.
Well, I shall leave you be. I will bring food whenever it is ready, so that you don't starve.
Thank you. I appreciate it. With that, the woman left, leaving me alone in my room to wait. I remained in my room until let's save here. I don't know how many pages we have. I don't know. I remained in my room until the night came. I was given food which looked like soup. The woman who gave it to me apologized, letting me know that food was scarce until the upcoming harvest, which was a couple of days away. Being that I was only staying the day, I didn't mind much. I was more concerned over what I was given to eat. It was some sort of stew with mysterious chunks swimming in its broth. It smelled surprisingly good, but who knew how it tasted? Oh, just taste it. Just eat it. I gulped. I had to try it. I had to eat it. I hadn't eaten in 2 days even before I came to the demon world. I was pretty certain Diana wouldn't poison me now, and I was fairly sure that she wouldn't serve me anything disgusting. I lifted the spoon that was sitting in the broth, letting it capture some of the stew as it rose. I mean, it wasn't terribly scary to look at. Oh my god. What is going on in this chat? What? I gulped and slowly brought the spoon to my lips, feeling the heat emanate from the stew. A knock rapped at my door, breaking me out of my train of thought. Huh? Come in. I had a feeling it would be Diana. The door opened and revealed Diana with a plate holding things I recognized, bread and cheese. I let out a heavy sigh of relief before Diana laughed.
I suggest not trying that. As good as it smells, the taste would not sit well with you.
Instantly, I moved the bowl to the nearby table, thankful that I did not have to try it. Diana handed me the plate and nodded, reassuring me that what was on it was indeed what it seemed.
It's not much, but it's human food. Eat up.
I will. I began to chow down, feeling the hunger in my stomach dissipate with each bite and swallow. The food I was eating, surprisingly, was delicious. As I began to crave something to drink, Diana chuckled and formed a small goblet in her hand, filled with clear liquid that I assumed to be water. I took it and drank it down, feeling my thirst quenched before I let out a sigh. I feel so much better.
I can tell. Take a moment to finish eating. Then we'll head for the ritual.
I looked up at Diana, suddenly excited. Everything was prepared for? Was it possible to go home now? As if she read my mind, she smiled and nodded.
We finished the main preparations. We just need to head over and we'll start.
I'm sure this is gonna go terribly. I couldn't continue eating. My mind went into an obsessive frenzy of wanting to go home. I stood on moving the plate and goblet to the nearby table. Let's go.
Huh? Are you sure?
I nodded, not wanting to waste any more time. I needed to get home and I was tired of waiting. Diana stared at me and stared before nodding and heading for the door, opening it for me and exiting after me. As she closed the door behind her, I felt my heart flutter in relieved joy. I was heading home. Bay! I don't want to leave Bay, though! Diana led me down the corridors to the war room where I'd originally arrived to reveal the table covered in plants and artifacts of different kinds. None of it made sense to me, but I only had to assume it was what was needed for the spell to work. Diana walked to the table and took note of what she saw, nodding.
This should work.
You're in doubt?
Have to be after the last time we tried sending her home. Do we have a human anchor?
Hold on 1 second.
No, you're on your own this time. But we'll make sure you survive casting it.
This spell should work, however, because we'll be using energy material. It will only require a slice of your energy on top of these items, which your guard can refill immediately after this.
Just make sure you don't die casting it.
Dana smiled at her guard before turning to me.
So, are you ready to return home?
She didn't have to ask. I'm ready. Diana nodded once more before turning back to the table. She lifted her arms over the surface and lowered her head, muttering under her breath.
Otra nibris portas, apriat nobis, largiatur exidium, desiderium.
As she spoke, the table began to glow, as did she. A dark purple aura began to surround her form as she lifted and arched her back, staring at the ceiling. A glimpse at her eyes made me gasp. Warm golden orbs covered her blood-red irises, glowing with magic. She was deep within the spell, and I could see it slowly draw energy from her body. The items on the table began to gleam wildly, light orbs floating from them and dancing in the air above the table's surface. They began to weave back and forth with each other, almost as if the lights were dancing to a silent tune. The other demon stepped back as Diana moved her arms up and pointed to the dancing lights. Her fingers pointed into the air, leading the lights to follow where it directed obediently. She drew a large circle in the air, and the lights followed it like a perfect trail, spreading out and forming a large void in the air. As they finally stopped moving, they burst into a bright light, causing the demons and I to cover our eyes from it. It engulfed the room, but it died down just as fast, revealing a small tear in the air. Diana quickly leaned forward and dug her hands in before pulling the tear apart, revealing my bedroom! Diana continued to pull the tear open, giving enough space for me to jump through.
Hurry and go through! This is your chance!
I wasn't going to let it go to waste. I gripped the bottom of my dress and rushed forward, using my momentum to jump into the air and forward towards the void. I could almost reach it. I could feel the air conditioning of my room right at my fingertips.
She will never leave this world alive!
Ah! The Demon Lord is such a cockblock! I can't deal with this guy! Oh, this jerk! Woo! The Demon Lord's voice rang through the air just as I saw my fingertips pass through the tear. What stopped the rest of my body was a red light and force, forcing me and Diana back from the opening. Ah! I felt my body fly backwards and slam into the wall before I landed on the stone ground. I heard Diana as well land beside me with a painful thud. I looked up and felt my heart break as the tear became wrapped in red lightning, zipping its clothes and vanishing into thin air. No, this couldn't be.
Damn it!
That should have worked! How could it have failed?
You must have missed something. Was there anything we had forgotten?
No. I verified everything myself.
Then why was the Demon Lord able to overpower a gate spell?
I highly doubt you know either, brute.
Stop fighting! We need need to make a plan, and all of you are just being stupid! Stupid, 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 stupid!
Yo, the crazy fairy's got a point.
Are you alright, Azea?
I'm fine.
I was too lost in my mind to fully understand what was going on around me. I was so close. I felt the other side. I'd almost made it home. Why couldn't I go home? Diana's grunted to pain next to me made me shoot my head towards her, and I watched her slowly push herself up off the ground and glare at the table.
The Demon Lord must have done something more than simply bring her here.
What could he have done?
Now, the Demon Lord is incapable of doing anything of the sort. His lackey imps must have done something to her.
A spell?
A curse.
I looked to the rabbit woman, seeing her stare wide-eyed at me. The other demons stared at me as well, and suddenly I felt like I was on display. Was something wrong with me?
She will not leave the demon world alive. He must have placed some sort of curse on her to prevent her from leaving this plane. In order to leave, she'd have to die.
What? I'm gonna go full JonTron. Excuse me, what? My mind went blank. Did the Demon Lord really curse me? Was I forced to stay in the world until I died? I can never go back?
Are you suggesting a barrier curse?
That would explain the red energy that sealed the tear.
But dark magic like that requires...
Blood of 1,000 demons. He must have sacrificed part of his army to cast a curse on her that would prevent her from leaving.
Yeah, okay, so this guy means serious fucking business then.
The Demon Lord is that desperate for her.
Yeah.
The only way to break that kind of curse is to kill the caster, the Demon Lord himself.
She's trapped here until this war is over.
Yeah. My body began to shiver violently. The Demon Lord killed 1,000 demons just to trap me here. Why? Why? I slammed my fist into the ground and began to scream. I want to go home! Why? I could feel sympathy and anger in the room, but I didn't care. I was beyond livid. I was far past broken. I was seething. I was seeing red. Ah! I'm not gonna actually scream into my mic. As my voice ripped through the air, a bright light erupted through the room once again. Everyone covered their eyes, but Diana quickly scrambled to get on her knees and covered me with her body. She held me tightly as the light invaded the space and slowly began to fade. As the light finally died, everyone moved their hands to see what had happened. In the air was a white tear that was slowly opening, facing down towards the table. Something was coming. I could feel it in the air. Hopefully it's the boys! Oh God, please let it be the boys! The guard summoned his spear and pointed it at the tear, glaring at it and gritting his teeth.
Something's coming!
In reply, Diana summoned what looked like a saber and placed it in front of us.
Ready yourselves! It could be the Demon Lord!
The other demons in the room readied themselves and stared at the tear, either holding a weapon or preparing a spell. I hope that they were, like, in her bedroom when she tried to get in and realized what's happening. Oh, God, please let it be the guys. I felt the air change, becoming heavier as the tear began to grow. I'm, like, shaking right now. I'm so excited. The energy around it began to pulsate, making everyone in the room that much more tense. I stared at the tear as well, frightened as to what was coming. Was it the Demon Lord, his minions? My mind began to cycle through fearful ideas of what was about to appear. It's the guys! Yes! Those are the boys! I recognized Matthew's scream. In all of that, I heard Matthew's. My heart almost stopped. Fallen from the tear and landing on the table were the 5 incubi brothers. Yay! They were piled on top of one another, having come through one at a time. However, as the last brother landed, the boys fell to one side, toppling off the table and landing on the floor. The rebels around me stared at the fallen pile of incubi, confused and surprised. As the tear in the air closed, the ogre man was the first to lower his sword.
What the hell?
Oh God, he's gonna see us in our wedding dress.
Who are they?
That.
Careful! They could be the Demon Lord's men!
Close. No! The rebels looked up to me as I stood up, Diana following and still protecting me as I stared at the boys on the ground. They all looked dazed and a bit shell-shocked from having fallen twice in rapid succession. I almost couldn't believe it. They were here, right in front of me. My mind couldn't help but remember how I had first met them. They had all been on the floor of my mansion, unconscious and wounded. Now they were in front of me in the demon world. I know them. Oh! Look at the new art, guys. They look so good. They look so good. Look at Sam. Sam is hot AF, and Damien looks absolutely adorable. This pose of Eric's I'm in love with, and Matthew looks absolutely angelic. I love it. I love all of it. I love everything about this moment. I stared at the one I was meant to marry, seeing him slowly shake his head and rise from the ground. They came to rescue me. He came to rescue me. My heart became overjoyed and full of warmth and happiness. I was going to go home. The question was how? At the sight of the boys kept the demon's attention, a second tear opened above them, causing everyone to look up. 4 women dropped down from the tear and somehow managed to fall into the arms of the incubi behind James.
Whoa!
Carrie came!
I gotcha!
Yeah, get your hubby to catch you. Who's this?
Whoa! Are you okay?
Oh, we got new people.
I gotcha! It's okay!
Eric!
Love, I've got you!
Oh, yay! The other guys have girlfriends too. Oh, she's a demon. I see her horns. I almost didn't see her horns in her hair. Gotcha. Oh my god, I'm so excited. We've got new characters and everything, and I'm so pumped. I stared wide-eyed. Their wives came too. They all got married. Beautiful. I'm in love. I love it. I watched as the boys and the girls finally planted themselves on the ground before looking around. As James spotted me, however, he quickly rushed over.
Love!
James! To my surprise, Diana quickly moved out of the way, allowing him to approach and wrap his arms around me. The feeling of his body against mine sent a shiver up my spine. He was really here. Well, Celesta, I guess. I mean, I could see Eric's wife looked like a demon, and we know that, that Carrie's a witch, so I would assume the other two also know about demons and stuff. I don't know. I instantly wrapped my arms around his body, burying my face in his shoulder and taking in his scent. His head gently nuzzled into my shoulder as James curled over to bring my body close to him.
Thank God you're safe.
You came for me. I could barely believe it, but I did. The scent of his cologne and the texture of his clothing let me know I wasn't dreaming. He came to find me. Now the question was, how would we both leave? James gently loosed his embrace and looked at Diana, who was standing by our side and watching. I couldn't see his expression, but Diana stared wide-eyed, almost in fear of James. Why? As James began to speak, I felt some sort of violent power change in the room. While Diana held dominance before the incubi had arrived, it was practically ripped from her as James claimed me once again in his arms.
Care to explain why my bride is here, Diana?
It wasn't her doing.
Your father.
I looked up at James to see him staring Diana down as if he didn't believe her explanation. I assume we're supposed to tighten the hug? Yeah. I tightened my hug around his chest, earning a soft squeeze from him in return, but he continued to glare at Diana.
And why have you not sent her back?
Again, your father.
I watched as James's eyes closed further, almost hiding his whiskey-brown irises in an unimpressed and unconvinced glare.
As much as I despise my father, why do I have a hard time believing that?
From beside Diana, the spear guard stepped up and crossed his spear across Diana's body in an act of protection. He seemed unfazed by James's glare and almost felt like he was challenging him from the power play flashing in the air. It was like James and Diana were opposing alphas and the guard was a protective mate. Oh wow, I think you hit it right. I think you hit the nail on the head, Anderson. Like, no, I don't want to know about the wife shelties. No spoilers. Stop it.
Believe what you will. My lady was about to send her back before you came.
James looked at the guard and visibly sized him up. The guard glared, tightening his grip on his spear, but remained beside his mistress. As James looked back to Diana, his hold on me tightened.
Go on.
Diana sighed and softly placed a hand on the guard's shoulder, looking at him, but the guard refused to turn himself or his spear away from me and James.
He cast a curse on your bride-to-be, barring her from leaving this world alive.
A curse?
Yes. She can't leave this world unless she dies, or until we kill the Demon Lord.
I could feel James's arms tense around me. For some reason, the look in his eyes changed from anger to almost hopefulness. Was he hoping that we would be able to leave? I hoped so.
Now, I must ask that you recognize whose kindness you are testing.
Settle.
Diana tightened her hand on his guard's shoulder, almost digging her nails into his jacket. However, his eyes remained on James, now submissive to his dominant stare on her. So his name is Sarah.
We have been fighting him consistently and have successfully pinned him into a corner. Our next attack will be on the Demon Lord's castle, and it will be the final battle.
Succubus, if I may...
No, you may not.
Bay, get in the corner! Actual Bay is here! Go! The lanky man stared wide-eyed at Diana, but she ignored him. Instead, she continued to stare up at James, unfazed at her harsh tone towards her companion. James eventually released me from his embrace and faced Diana and her guard, standing tall and almost looking down his nose at them.
And when do you plan to attack him?
With a nasty snarl, the larger demon male stepped forward and glared at James. I felt my body tense in reflex, but James continued to stand tall.
Why the fuck should we tell you?
Ooh.
1 week's time.
Everyone in the room shot their heads towards Diana, mostly in shock or surprise.
What? 1 week?
I looked at Diana, watching her unable to turn away from James's gaze. She wasn't entranced, but it seemed as if she wasn't able to even pull away from the gaze battle between them out of fear.
Where is this number coming from, Succubus?
We need to fully prepare ourselves for the final stage, which I'm certain will only take a couple of days. We've pinned him into a corner. The Demon Lord will fall.
That's rather bold to assume.
Yeah, he might not be in as much of a corner as you think he is.
She's right, though. We can prepare everything in that time frame, right?
And if he does the same and attacks us before then?
He won't.
I watched as Diana walked over and cleared the table of the materials they had gathered for the gate spell, revealing a physical map of the abyssal plains. She pointed to a spot on the map, a peninsula surrounded by water labeled as the Decaying Sea.
We'll cast a barrier spell along the edge of the peninsula and around the castle. He and his army won't be able to move from that spot until we break it ourselves, which will be during the siege.
Where would we get the energy needed for that kind of spell?
We won't be using energy.
The other rebel demons in the room suddenly tensed up, staring at Diana in surprise. What was she gonna do? I don't know. Blood of 1,000 demons?
My lady, you're not suggesting...
The Demon Lord has shown how far he is willing to go to win this war. It's only fitting to show the extent we'll go to in response.
As much as I agree with you, this seems a little rash.
What are you guys talking about?
Are they allowed to know?
I plan to put a barrier curse around the Demon Lord's castle and army. It's temporary, so it won't need the blood of 1,000 demons. But it will need the sacrifice of at least one demon life.
And I assume you'll be sacrificing one of my soldiers.
Is this our only option?
There are other options, but they will most likely take a lot of energy to pull off.
It just depends on what we want to do. If we want to do this immediately, then the barrier curse is indeed the best option.
I'm not opposed to performing the curse. As rash as it is, it will make our lives easier in the long run.
You expect me to hand over one of my men? My soldiers joined the rebellion to kill the Demon Lord, not to get their throats slit before even seeing the final battle.
It's wrong, but can we really afford to spend any more energy? Diana already spent a lot trying to send the human back.
What is the other option?
The rabbit woman and the fairy moved towards the map and pointed at the peninsula.
We could form tall rock walls around the castle. Box him in.
It will take a lot of our energy, but we can recover in that week period.
And what will stop the Demon Lord from tearing down the walls?
I can imbue the walls with holy magic.
The incubi and I looked at him, all of us equally surprised. A demon with holy magic? How? That's a good question.
How the fuck did you get holy magic? You look and smell like a demon.
Also, lol, he has like his, like, what the fuck happened to you? Like, you've got a chain around your wrist and your fucking shoulders are on. What is wrong with you, Samuel? The guards held up his wrapped hand, letting the beads around it jangle with the sudden motion.
I've had the ability to use holy magic ever since I was taken in by my lady's family. There's no doubt that I am a demon, but I can't recall how I gained this ability.
Maybe you're half demon, half angel? How is holy magic different than demon magic?
It's white magic. Unlike demon magic, holy magic isn't so finicky. Think of it as warding or dispelling magic. You can't bless air or anything that doesn't have physical form, but you can bless objects to fight back against other forms of magic.
If the walls were blessed with holy magic, the Demon Lord wouldn't be able to escape until we released him.
Why not just trap him forever?
That's idiotic. He would still be a threat regardless. Holy magic doesn't last forever. And stone will crumble eventually.
He's right. We wouldn't be able to keep the walls up forever.
The situation became more and more complicated the more we discussed it. How are we going to go about this?
We can't just sit around and debate this forever. The longer we wait, the more we risk him striking back at us.
But is it worth killing someone to trap him?
Yes! It's called the greater good! Acceptable losses, learn it!
When we finally strike, we will lose hundreds, if not thousands, of soldiers anyway. What difference will it make to lose one more life on top of this?
I agree.
Soulless fuck.
Alright, listen, dude. I'm all into you being honorable and shit, but again, acceptable losses.
We can still cage him in.
I bit my lip. It was a really tough decision. Not really, just fucking do the magic. A curse or a trap, which was better? Both had their prices, but we had to choose one. From the look of it, no one wanted to speak up, so I felt the urge to say something. Maybe I would be the one who would determine everything. But which method would be the best choice? No! Why are you making me make this choice? Okay, oh god, I guess we could bounce around between these two choices later on. But since this Anderson is a nice Anderson, I would say the trap. Everyone in the room looked at me as I finally spoke up. Achievement unlocked, better than the tyrant. Yay! We got an achievement for being a nice person. Yo, we'll get both of those achievements, Shelty. I'll definitely pick the curse at the very least in Sam's playthrough, and if not in all the others. We needed to be better than the Demon Lord. Hold on. I'm like dying. He was willing to sacrifice lives to trap me here, but he only showed how desperate he was to win and how little he valued life. He would lose this war one way or another. It wasn't worth losing someone who could help turn the tide of war. When can you put a barrier up?
We can leave after this, meeting is over.
Are you sure this is the best choice?
The curse isn't the only option. We need to show that we're better than him. Everyone nodded, some in reluctance while the others did with confidence. I looked at Diana just in time to catch a twitch from her visible eye, but she shook her head and looked to the rabbit woman.
Are you quite positive this will work?
I am very certain. Since it will be just 3 of us going, we can shadow travel there and be back by the morning.
Diana looked at her guard and nodded.
Very well. If you believe it will work, then I trust you will make sure it does.
As the guard nodded and slightly bowed, the other demons seemed to let out a sigh of relief. Were they worried about performing the curse? Diana shook her head before crossing her arms and looking directly at me.
So, since you'll be here for a while, we might as well give you names that you can use to refer to everyone here.
Oh, yeah! So we're not gonna get their actual demon names except for Sarah. We're just gonna get generic names. I know it's a society thing in there, but...
Are we getting human names?
Oh my god! This fairy, though!
Must we?
And the assassin's like, fucking really, dude? Diana rolled her eyes and gestured to each demon, naming them on the fly.
For the sake of time, we'll use simple names. This is Rabbit, our magic advisor. Sergeant, commander of our armies. Shadow, leader of our assassins.
Okay.
And Faye, our nomadic force ambassador.
Okay, so we're just gonna go with simple, generic, terrible names. Beautiful.
Sergeant, I'm a commander, succubus. Shouldn't my name be Commander?
It's easier on the tongue, though, to say Sergeant.
My lady, what shall they call me?
Commander Sergeant. That's what I'm going to call him. Diana looked at Sarah for a moment before turning towards me, a look of seriousness emanating from her eyes.
You may call him Zero. He is my personal guard, and he is always by my side.
The other demons and Zero seemed to be surprised. Was Zero his true demon name? Why would she give me his true name?
Are you sure?
Call him only if your life depends on it.
Ah.
Do not abuse this permission.
That's why! I forgot, because you can summon demons by calling their names, so of course she wouldn't want me to know their real names. But she's giving us special permission to call on Zero if we need to. Okay. Her eyes seemed to burn as she gazed into mine, full of a hard intent and warning. I mentally noted her seriousness as she ran a hand through her hair.
Well, now that we have a plan and introductions are out of the way, I believe we can end this meeting. We have a lot to accomplish in 1 week.
What about us? You don't expect us to sit around.
Actually, I do. You all don't belong on the battlefield.
Wait, hold on. That's not fair.
Carrie's like, no! Wait! I want to be in a demon war!
I will not take untrained and unarmed beings into a war zone.
Hold on! I interjected, stepping forward and crossing my arms at Diana. She seriously wasn't going to make us stay back. She seriously wasn't going to make us stay back while she fought the Demon Lord, was she? That's not fair. Is this really what we should do? We'll pick all the options at some point. Diana nodded to me, a look of sincerity in her eyes as she locked her gaze with mine. I knew she was trying to protect us, but was it necessary?
Unless you can fight, I can't guarantee that you will survive this war.
Let me and my brothers train then. We're demons, for fuck's sake. We know how to fight.
Yeah, really? Oh, and you're right, those are his, you're absolutely right, Celesta. Those are his cop handcuffs, that's right. Because somehow Sam became a policeman. The boy stared at Diana as she turned to head towards Sam. He was right, though. They knew how to train, so they knew how to fight. If they fought with the rebellion, there would be a better chance of winning this war.
You all realize this is a war, correct? You can die here.
We understand completely.
We do too, Diana.
I don't know how to pronounce her name. Is it Norin or Noreen? Well, we'll figure it out at some point. I'm sure somebody will say Matthew will say her name out loud, I'm sure. I'm tripping over my own tongue. I can't speak. Oh no, I expect several people to die. Well, alright, look. I am a huge fan of high fantasy stories. In the books that I read, fucking everyone dies. I fully expect the majority of the people in this room to not make it out alive. That is always my immediate assumption. The only person I assume will get out is James, because obviously we're going to get the best ending, so I would assume James and maybe the rest of the brothers would also get out. But who knows? He's going to handcuff some demons. Yeah, that'll work. Diana could only stare at our group as we challenged her proclamation. I wrapped my hand around my fiancé's arm, frightened at the idea of participating in a war, but knowing that we needed all the strength we could muster to finish off the Demon Lord. This was the only way that I could go home. Defeated, Diana sighed and rubbed her temples.
Very well. I can't exactly keep you here like prisoners, so it will be up to you if you choose to train for battle. However, I highly suggest just staying here and allowing us to handle it.
I have a feeling you're gonna need the help, Diana. I nodded, as did the others. This was really happening. We were going to kill the Demon Lord, and we had 1 week to either prepare for war or wait it out. Diana turned towards me and looked down at my outfit. I'd nearly forgotten that I was still in my wedding dress until Diana pointed at my chest.
Lumen infere, velum tabescere, serene.
I stared at her, unsure of why she was speaking Latin, until I felt the fabric around my body shift and change. I quickly looked down to see my wedding dress morphed into an outfit that looked perfect for the demon world. Do we get to see it? The white top shifted into a long-sleeved, oversized tunic with a leather corset and vest, while the bottom part of my gown split into and wrapped around my legs, forming into dark leggings. My shoes stretched into long knee-high boots. That sounds badass. Can we have a picture,
wow,
please?
That's so cool.
I blushed, getting used to the feel of the outfit. Of course, it wasn't tight, but it was still something new, and along with the rest of the garb. James, however, smiled down at me and kissed over my forehead.
We'll save the wedding dress for when we return.
Right.
Faye, Rabbit, you both should finish your preparations and head over to the Demon Lord's castle for the spell.
How are you going to get there?
I'll get us there, no problem.
Just make sure we don't get stuck there or lost.
No promises.
Sarah, make sure the job is done.
I shall, my lady.
Sarah, Faye, and Rabbit began to make their way out of the room as Diana turned to me and my group. As they left, Diana let out a small sigh.
I will take you to some rooms you may rest in.
Thank you, Diana. Diana merely nodded and led our groups out of the room towards new temporary rooms. This was completely crazy. I was stuck in the demon world with the man I loved, and I had to wait until the war was over to even consider going home. I held James's hand tightly as we walked through the halls of the castle, now worried and remembering my nightmare once again. Alright, Celesta's calling that Sergeant is gonna die. I would not be surprised if he did. I would put him on my probably going to die list. I would agree. I began to feel nervous, nauseous even. There were so many things wrong about this, and there were even more things that could go wrong with this plan. Kill the Demon Lord? It sounded so simple, but this war had been going on for a while. Who truly knew if this was the final battle? Oh my god. I feel like I'm going to die, guys. Hold on one second, I'll be right back. Okay. What do you read, Celesta? What fantasy do you read? Please tell me. Please tell me. Tell me all the... Everybody, tell me all the fantasy you read. You don't understand. I get so excited. I get so excited by fantasy. Ugh. It's my favorite kind of literature. Anyway. James most likely felt the nervousness in my hands as he gave it a gentle squeeze, catching my attention and breaking my thoughts.
Are you okay?
I don't know, this story's pretty intense, you guys. Are we okay? Yes, no. Honestly, no. It looks like being honest is the way to go. No! We are not okay. I couldn't lie to him. I was worried about this whole ordeal. And on to the fact that we were in the demon world where James came from, and my worries increased tenfold. Throne of Glass. Who's that by? Gently squeezed my hand. James gently squeezed my hand, leaning over to kiss my head gently.
Everything will be all right. We'll get back home soon enough.
I know, but... James looked to me, staring at me with a worry of his own.
Are you worried about your nightmare?
I nodded. The nightmare I had mildly plagued me, reminding me of what things James could potentially do. I knew it wasn't the truth, but a part of me became fearful of it honestly being the case. James furrowed his eyebrows slightly at me before releasing my hand and wrapping it beneath his arm, walking with me like a gentleman.
Whatever happens, I promise that no one will hurt you.
I squeezed James's arm, believing him at least for now. It was comforting to know that he was going to protect me and help me through this. I want to reread so much stuff, Shelties, but I still have so much more to read. I'm in the middle of book 6 of Malazan Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson. Oh my god. The book is so challenging, but it is so good. It's a fucking work of art. I can't even handle. We continued down the hall, led by our guide, towards the room. The others were given rooms apparently on the opposite end of the castle, while James and I claimed the ambassador's room I'd stayed in the night before. At least it was a room I was familiar with. I began to space out, imagining what was going to happen. Would we kill the demon lord, break the curse on me, and go... We would kill the demon lord, break the curse on me, and go home to be married. That was the plan, but what if we couldn't kill him? What if he was more powerful than we thought? Foreshadowing. James, however, gently nudged me, catching my attention and breaking me from my thoughts.
Did you know that time works differently between the human and demon worlds?
I could tell that he was trying to calm me down with something else to keep my mind on. I became curious as to what he meant. Oh yeah, also, what happened to the wedding? That's another question of mine, is all the family's gonna be like, where the fuck are the bride and groom? Like, really? Time works differently here? I assume this is gonna be the explanation.
Indeed. In this world, time moves slower. What would take a day to grow in the human world would take 5 days here.
I was astonished. Time was that different? I began to wonder, how long had I been gone from the human world if that was the case? As if James read my mind, he smiled at me.
You were gone for about 5 hours before we found you.
Okay. 5 hours? I had been in the demon world for an entire day, but back home I hadn't been gone that long. It made no sense at all, but James continued to speak as I stared in shock.
When you didn't arrive at the hall, we sent everyone home and used our powers to make sure no one would be suspicious.
Beautiful!
Once everyone left, we tracked you down and came here to find you.
I nodded in reply, taking in the explanation. It was crazy to think about, but I guess it made sense. My mind wanted to fight it, but I had to remember. This was a new world filled with its own rules, so human logic didn't necessarily apply here. That is very true. If you highly suggest Throne of Glass, maybe I'll put that on my to-read list. We finally arrived in our room and were left alone for the night. I sat down on the bed, feeling the exhaustion of the day take over as James examined the room carefully. He walked around the room, observing each bit of decor with curious care.
So this is Lilith Castle.
I raised an eyebrow. This place had a name? Lilith Castle? James nodded, walking over to the tapestry on the wall and examining it as he explained.
This castle was the home of the first succubus, Lilith. Demons of Lilith like myself and my brothers come from one of thousands of branches of her bloodline, but we're not pure-blooded incubi. Diana, however, is a pure-blooded succubus. directly descended from Lilith herself.
Okay, so that's why they said that he wasn't a pure blood. That's why Diana screamed that in our dream, because he's half demon and half blood of Lilith, I suppose. I don't know. My dream flashed before my eyes, reminding me of Diana's words towards James. I nodded in understanding as he continued with a small smile.
That's why her family was able to convince the Demon Lord to make her my betrothed. They were extremely powerful and could easily charm others, being of pure Lilith blood.
I could only imagine it. Remembering how Diana controlled an entire school it was easy for her to send a small shiver down my spine. If she was that powerful, then how powerful was she now after so long? James chuckled a bit, breaking my thoughts.
Of course, you know what happened after that.
James finally walked over and sat beside me, wrapping an arm around my waist, and bringing me close to him. I nuzzled his shoulder, enjoying the warmth of his body. I remembered clearly what happened. James chose me, after all, and I chose him. We loved each other and defied Diana's attempts to take him away because of it. I couldn't have been more proud of myself at that moment in time. James leaned down a bit and whispered in my ear, making me shiver slightly in his arms.
Besides, the woman I'm engaged to now is more amazing than any princess in all of the 5 worlds.
He's so cute. I blushed at his words, feeling my heart skip a beat. James really did love me. I assume we are meant to kiss him. Yup! He was so sweet and caring. I felt blessed being able to be with him, both as his fiancé and physically in the same world. My words began to slowly break apart and melt in my chest as I looked up at him and leaned in, capturing his lips with my own. James seemed surprised for a moment before he let a soft groan escape his lips and kissed me back. He gently pressed a hand on the back of my head, keeping me close as we kissed each other lovingly. It was almost orgasmic, the way his lips moved against mine. As we slowly pulled away from each other, letting our breaths intermingle in the space between us, James smiled. I became lost in his whiskey brown eyes, wanting so much to forever be entranced by them.
Come, let's get some sleep. We have a lot to do tomorrow.
Agreed. I nodded and both of us settled into the bed, drifting to sleep as our heads hit the pillows. I felt at peace, knowing that James was by my side. But my peace didn't last. Should we end this episode here? Should we end this episode here? I feel like this is a great place to stop because I'm a terrible person and you should all hate me. Hey, Deslin, what's up? I don't know, guys. Should we switch to a different game? My throat is starting to bother me again because I'm kind of losing my voice. Because I'm losing my voice. Because I'm losing my voice, this game has been kind of tough on me. I'm still going to stream more Deslin, just probably not this game. So I might save this for tomorrow night at 7, just because I want to give my throat a little bit of a rest. So yeah, maybe we'll play more Rogue Legacy. I don't know if you guys are up for that. I'll stop the video here, and we'll talk in the chat, and I'll bring up another game. But I'm going to stop this one here for now, because I got to give my vocal cords a little bit of rest and not be constantly talking for hours on end. Stay in the chat. We'll pick another game to play. But for those of you watching on YouTube or on VOD, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!